Welcome to the Everyday GSD podcast. Today's special guest is a friend of mine, Guy Relford. I've known Guy for, I'd say, a few years. He's helped me with a couple things. Most importantly, he helped me with my, how do you call it? Gun trust?
Gun trust, yeah.
Gun
or
trust.
NFA trust.
NFA trust.
Yeah.
And that was several years ago. And then he's helped me with some other things that we'll kind of talk about in a little bit, which purchasing certain types of weapons and
Fun stuff.
Fun stuff.
And I will say you got great taste in all of that too. Well, so that's made it fun.
Thank you. So I've got a couple notes here. I'm going to brag on you for a minute. Obviously you're a lawyer. You graduated cum laude from the Indiana University School of Law. You also are a radio host at the Gun Guy with Guy Relford on WIBC. Mm-hmm. You're also an NRA certified firearms instructor and NRA certified chief range safety officer. It's fucking huge. I love it. You're the owner and chief instructor of tactical firearms training, TFT, which, by the way, my wife went to one of your classes with one of her friends.
I remember.
And I think it changed her life in the way to respect weapons and to have better self-defense at home and as a personal carry. So thank you for that.
And she rocked it too, by the way. Did she told you what a good shot she was, right?
Well, she was bragging for a while.
Oh, hell yeah. She should. She rocked it.
As you see, she's the resident bartender today, but we'll be pouring our own
And she
drinks
walked out of there with a target that had all little bullseyes right there. She was awesome.
I love it. You're also, you were awarded the National Distinguished Advocate Award by the NRA, which I'll have you explain that, which sounds pretty
a few years
badass.
Ago, yeah.
And of course, you're the founder and you have your business right down the street from where I reside, the Law Office of Guy Relford in Carmel, Indiana. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's a little bit of bragging, but you also went to Carmel High School. You were a football player.
Yeah, long damn time ago.
You look fucking good, man.
Yeah.
So I wanted you on the show for several reasons. One, because I respect you tremendously, but you are a true guy that gets shit done. And I say, Guy, I know that's your name. I'm going to say that a lot today, but
yeah, it's all good.
Obviously the show's Everyday GSD. It's about getting shit done. And I've watched you, especially with the Second Amendment, which you started this nonprofit, the Second Amendment Project.
Yeah,
it's
the
called
2A Project.
The 2A Project.
Exactly.
So we'll talk about that in a minute. Mm-hmm. But I wanted to just let you know that I'm honored to have you on the show, especially because I had a guest here a little while ago, and she also was on a radio show for many years called the Bob and Tom Show.
Oh, sure.
And I'll be honest, I was a little nervous. What do you think, Justin, when she came on?
I've never seen you that nervous.
Yeah, because here's the deal. Listen, I'm doing this podcast, and here I've got this professional.
Who was it? Was this Christy Lee?
It was Christy Lee.
See? Oh, that's awesome.
And she was a blast. And anyone who's watched the episode will say that she fucking killed it. And I really enjoyed interviewing her.
Yeah.
But it was funny because originally when we first started, she was so excited. Like she wanted to talk and because she's so used to what she does. And when you agreed to come on the show and I was super excited, I was like, oh shit, am I going to be all nervous? I'm going to have a couple drinks. Justin, we got to have a couple drinks before the show starts. Guy's going to come in here and he's got, you've got your own radio show and you do a lot of cool shit. But the fact is, I respect you, so I don't have the nervousness that I did with her because I didn't know her and I know you.
Well, yeah, I was going to say we're pals,
right?
We're buddies.
Yes,
we have had a few beers together, brother.
We have. Nice ice cold beers too.
Yeah, exactly. So I consider this just an extended conversation that we would have sitting over having a couple of cold ones.
100%. And here's to that.
Absolutely, brother.
Well, you have some of your bourbon. I'll drink some red wine.
You bet. No, man, you've been a friend of mine for a long time, and not to make it a mutual admiration society, but your book, badass.
Thank you.
I have read.
Love it.
And now with your podcast and just the whole GSD.
Yeah.
Everyday GSD, that you've started that and you're killing it. No, man, I'm proud to be here.
Well, thank you. And that what we're trying to do is have people on the show that truly get shit done, whether you're prior military or you're a business owner or you're a person that gets up every day and gets shit done, where someone can listen to the show and say, wow, I picked up that nugget, or wow, I want to emulate them, or I just learned a whole bunch of shit. I had no fucking idea what I was talking about before, right. And now I know it because I just heard Guy talk about the Second Amendment. I used to make a joke about, and it's not a funny joke, but I would say this when people would say, someone's like, I'm pro Second Amendment, and I was like, do you know the other amendments? Yeah, and then it gets fucking silent, right? And I was like, listen, you need to be pro all the amendments, but there's certain amendments that are at risk, right? And those are what we need to protect. And this show obviously is not, we're not here to say it's all about the Second Amendment, but you are a big advocate for the Second Amendment. So we'll peel that onion here in a little bit, but let's talk about, so you're playing high school football in Carmel, obviously. And we're going back a few years, and you decided, I want to go be a lawyer. I'm a football player and I kick ass and I'm on a good team and I want to be a lawyer. So I'm going to go to school in Indiana and I'm going to graduate basically top of my fucking class. I mean, that's a fact, right?
I don't know.
I
got, I got better grades in college than I did in high school, and I got better grades in law school than I did in college. So
okay.
I got better. You know what? It was more focused, a little more dedicated as I got older.
Okay.
High school, man, it was about chasing girls and playing football.
Right.
And I was lucky enough to get decent grades, but then you go to college and you're like, okay, now I want to get into law school. I'm gonna have to get a little more serious about that. But I was playing football in college too.
Okay. So you played in college?
Yeah, I did. Just Division III. So it was no big deal, but
it's still collegiate sports.
Well, and then they paid, but it paid for my college education because I'd already moved out of my parents' house. So I was a poor kid going to a rich kid's school. Just Division III over at DePaul University in Greencastle.
Okay.
But then you get to law school and you're like, okay, now it's for real, like really for real, because my grades and how I perform in law school is going to dictate what kind of job I can get. So now we're talking about getting paid, about making a living. I was much more serious then. So yeah, my grades actually got better, high school to college to law school.
And so when you're in law school, and because obviously I've never been to law school, but I got friends that are lawyers, and I think, there's extremely intelligent lawyers that do a lot of different aspects of law. What made you in law school decide what direction you wanted to go? Or was it not in law school? Was it after law school?
Oh, no. During law school, I knew I wanted to be a litigator. I wanted to be a courtroom lawyer. I wanted to be a trial lawyer. I wanted to be a guy in front of juries.
Right.
And so that was, I probably could have told you that when I was 10 years old.
Okay.
I want to be a lawyer in front of juries, and for whatever reason. And then, life takes you in weird directions because I got out of law school and I was, you talk about broke. Oh, so broke. I remember, in all seriousness, I remember going to the city market downtown.
Yeah.
And having $1 and buying 3 apples. I could get 3 big ass apples this big
for $1,
$1, and I'd eat 1 for breakfast and 1 for lunch and 2 for dinner, and that's what I ate that day. I was so broke, and so
this is during law school.
During law school, yeah,
right.
Because I was married and I had unplanned. I had my oldest son my first year of law school, and didn't plan any of that. And my wife quit working at the time because she had a newborn baby at home.
Right.
And that was the plan, is that I was going to go to law school full time, and she was going to work, and then all of a sudden she's not working, and so I started working part time, and then I shifted over, started going to law school at night, but I was just so dead broke.
So you were going to school during the daytime, and then you decided you had to make it happen because you just had a child that you're going to go at night as well.
Yeah, so I ended up going to school more at night.
Right.
I still got out in 3 years. And like I said, you're still worried about your grades because you're worried about, what kind of job you can get.
And you graduated cum laude.
Yeah, with honors. There are a couple of levels higher than that.
I got to interrupt you real quick.
No, it's all good.
Yeah, because I was pronouncing it wrong earlier, and Justin is very good at making sure he corrects me. And he was like,
well, that's a great producer, right?
He said to me, he goes, just don't fucking say it. And I go, no, I've got. So I even put it down on my paper so I could pronounce it in my phonetical.
Well, I got to tell you.
I just think about Suma and Kuma.
Yeah. So
Yeah. Well,
So I looked at it and I circled and I said, basically, he's a smart motherfucker. And and before you got here, obviously, I was talking to him and I go, I'm telling you, I know him. He's smart. But then I read your bio and I was like, this fucking guy he's been smart for a while.
Oh yeah. Well, there were much smarter people than me there, but for going to school at night and working full time, and yeah, I was kind of proud that I was able to pull that out. But right out of school, man, I got to tell you, I got a little mercenary at that point. It was all about making a buck.
Right.
And paying off the student loans and trying to support my family. And so I took a job with a fairly big law firm. And because I could get paid finally.
And this is in Indianapolis,
in
Indiana?
Indianapolis, yeah. And then that led into a job at a very large corporation, Dow Chemical. And I was at one point, my title was Global Litigation Counsel for Dow Chemical. So, I was responsible for worldwide litigation for their big subsidiary here in Indianapolis, which used to be Dow AgriSciences. But
so what are you litigating? What is that?
Oh, I had my house treated for termites with a chemical, and now I have cancer, or toxic tort, we call it, kind of stuff. But I did patent litigation for them. I mean, who invented genetically modified corn or cotton or canola, soybeans? We litigated all that stuff. So we did intellectual property litigation, all that. I was mainly working for Dow AgriSciences, which is about a $5 billion subsidiary here in town. But at none of that time, I'm litigating, I'm in the courtroom, I've got lawyers working for me all over the country and to some degree in the world. But none of that was really what I wanted to do, which is represent individuals in cases that mattered to me,
Right.
And so I had the opportunity here about 15 years ago to leave Dow and set up my own practice and do what I really wanted to do, which is just be a Second Amendment attorney. So that's what I've been doing since.
And so when you say a Second Amendment attorney, I know what that is because we've had multiple conversations.
Yeah.
And I love it. But for the listeners out there, explain to me, and we can go into some of your most recent cases that are still ongoing, and I know we can only talk about a little bit of that, but I'm sure our guest out there listening. So to you, when you say you're a Second Amendment attorney, what does that mean?
Well, it means everything that I take on in some way, the Second Amendment impacts that case, and or someone's rights under the Second Amendment are in peril. They're in jeopardy. For instance, I take on a lot of self-defense cases.
Right.
I just resolved a case where.
So if someone breaks into someone's house and they're defending themselves, and
they still get prosecuted or they get sued, and either one could happen. So I handle both civil and criminal cases. I just resolved a case where a gentleman that I represented is the father of a young lady who had a bad relationship with a boyfriend, and the boyfriend ended up coming to her house, breaking the window, and although his name was on the deed, so technically his house too.
So he's allowed to break the window?
Well, that's what the case was all about.
Right.
So he, the kid the boyfriend broke the window, dad shot him. And so the question becomes, is that justified self-defense, or is that
do stupid shit, get stupid results?
Oh, that's right. So but I've represented a lot of other people. I represented a lady named Kirsty Janin. Oh, I'm sorry.
What was the answer?
Justin goes, "What's the answer?" He's not guilty. He represented him.
The father wasn't guilty.
If he represented him, he's not guilty.
Well, I
made that assumption.
I will answer it this way, and that is the case is over, and he's not going to spend a day in jail.
There you go.
So, but. And I've represented, people that one lady, Kirsty Janin, who actually was the inspiration for our new self-defense immunity law that we have in Indiana.
Because you do a lot of lobbying for.
Oh yeah. In fact, our immunity law, I wrote it. I wrote every word in it. But the reason I did is because I represented several people who defended someone or defended themselves and still got sued. And we said, well, this is crazy. You don't get prosecuted for a crime, but the family of the dead bad guy or the injured bad guy himself turns around and sues you after you defended them.
How has our country got to that?
Well, we fixed it in Indiana. I mean, it's a legitimate question you ask, which is how did we ever get there? We got there through the civil tort system, which is anybody can sue anybody for anything. I mean, that's just this.
Yeah.
I mean, if I sit here and drink, 40 drinks and stumble on your steps leaving your studio.
Yeah, you can sue me.
Totally my fault that I drank too much.
Yeah.
Can I turn around and sue you? Well, your steps were too high or some crap like that. That's why, that's what gives lawyers a bad name, but that's gone on for generations.
Right.
But anyway, I represent a lady who defended a cop against a guy trying to kill the cop with his own gun. There's a wrestling right in her front yard. She ran out there and saved the cop by shooting the bad guy. And cops called her a hero. The prosecutors called her a hero.
Fuck yeah, she's a hero.
Community
She just
called her
saved
a
the
hero.
cop.
Everybody says she's a hero. The family of the dead bad guy sues her for $20 million, saying
Because
that she
her life-
overreacted and ran out there and shot their poor son who was high on meth.
Poor innocent son. Right?
Poor innocent son who was about to turn his life around.
Yeah.
And
Justin's just shaking his fucking
Yeah.
head already. And Justin, you normally don't get involved until later, but he's already, his mind is blown.
well, no, in fact, I told her name was Kisty Jane. I told her, I go, Kisty, not only am I going to win this case for you, we're going to use this case to change the law. And we did. We have a new self-defense immunity law in Indiana that I wrote, got passed in 2019, actually got signed into law by Governor Holcomb on the stage of the NRA annual meeting that year, which was kind of cool, downtown. It says, basically, if you were justified in using force in self-defense or defense of a third person, you can't be sued for that. And if some knucklehead sues you for that, you can not only get the case dismissed, but recover all of your attorney's fees. Indiana right now has the strongest self-defense immunity statute in the fucking country, and I'm proud of that.
And I second that. I love it. I love it.
But that's Second Amendment law right there. That's what we're talking about.
No, and I love it. And I love that you started that whole story with, you're the one who rewrote it.
Well, I mean, I was in a position to do it. You know what I mean? I mean, that's the law I practice. That's what I do for a living. And so,
but how many people out there that, well, I'm not going to say that have the same credentials or the same knowledge, because I think you're like above, you have a higher level of that. And that's just my opinion.
That's just all I do. So.
Right. And so when you can sit there and say, I wrote this law that's changed the way we operate in a state, and then other states eventually will either jump on that or say, or they say, oh shit, we want nothing to do with it. Right.
And some have already tried to emulate our statute that we wrote here.
Yeah.
But all that is, well, frankly, all that is getting shit done.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all.
And that's why you're here, man. Right?
No, I mean,
you also wrote a book, and I'm gonna go from my memory. It's like Gun Safety for Dummies.
Yeah.
A while ago, but and it's funny because I used to see those books in the bookstore, and then one day we were having a beer, I think at Brockway or somewhere. Yeah. And you said, oh yeah, I wrote this book, and you should check it out. And I was like, oh wow, so you're an author. And then you're like, oh yeah, no, I'm a fucking lawyer. And I was like, I'm confused, man. Yeah.
Well, it's more of a booklet. It's only 67 pages, so it's a pretty damn short book. But the Dummies book, like Accounting for Dummies, or Microsoft Word for Dummies.
It's yellow and got the
exactly.
The guy
the Dummies guy. That's exactly right. It's actually kind of a funny story because I was driving down the road one day and just had lunch, and my cell phone rings, and Guy Relford. They said, this is a talent search coordinator for Wiley & Sons publication, and we produce all the Dummies books, and we'd be interested in having you write Gun Safety for Dummies. And I swear to you, Darin, I thought it was like a radio station or a buddy of mine. Somebody's punking me. I was completely convinced. Because it was like, I was going to go, oh, yeah, I'd love to write that. And they're going to go, great, because you're the biggest dummy we know.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And so somebody's punking me. There's no doubt in my mind. So I went, yeah, okay, funny joke. Yeah, F off.
Yeah.
Click. I hung up on him. And about an hour later, I'm back in my office and the phone rings again. And the lady's kind of laughing. And she goes, we get that a lot, but
I bet
this is real. And and I'll give you a link where you can look me up. We really want to talk to you about writing Gun Safety for Dummies for the Wiley & Sons, which is the publication company that actually produces all those Dummies books that we've all seen for years.
Yeah. And they're good.
Yeah.
You were involved for MySpace for Dummies? I can't wait till
see, there you go. That's awesome. That's awesome. Good for you.
I can't wait till we get you a microphone. It's going to be so fucking fun.
That's fantastic.
We're going to get him a microphone one of these days. We keep saying that, but really we're not.
What was funny about that is I said, well, no, I'd be interested. And they said, okay, here's a number of things. First of all, we're going to send you a template. We want you to write chapter 1 and send that to us. And it's only like 10 pages. I mean, it was short. They said, write chapter 1 and we want to take a look at that. But before we do that, we're going to send you a tutorial on how to write in the Dummies style.
Oh, that's right. You got to write it in that style.
Because the Dummy styles, I mean, you talk about antithetical to a lawyer.
Basic.
Oh, it's first of all, they want you to use the first person, I this and we that for a lawyer. But use the first person. That was funky. But then beyond that, they want it very conversational. Like, I've seen this and I've seen, in my observation, yada, yada.
Yeah.
So they said, we're going to send you a tutorial on how to write in the Dummy style. And then we're going to send you a really great example of a great Dummies book. I want you to read this Dummies book, and that'll give you a good idea. You know what they sent me? Ukulele for Dummies.
Oh, love it.
I kid you not. Ukulele. And I'm going, I'm so non-musical. I'm the last person in the world to play a musical instrument.
Yeah, sign me up. I'm the worst.
I read Ukulele for Dummies. And I will say I learned much more about playing the goddamn ukulele than I would have ever expected.
I love it.
But and then I wrote chapter 1 and I sent that to them. They said, oh yeah, this is cool. And we want you to write it. And they just do it on a flat fee. So you negotiate a fee and they paid me and so I wrote it. So
and this book is still out there, obviously, because all those books for dummies, or I forget.
Well, it's out of print, but I still have in my garage a couple thousand of them. So I'm actually just selling them on my website at Tactical Firearms. So I'm just selling them.
What's the website? And we'll go back.
It's tactical-firearms.com.
Okay, make sure Cumberland guys put that down on the screen. I say this every episode when someone gets, and I don't think they do it, but maybe Justin will do that.
Yeah, there you go. And there's it's one page.
It's right here.
It's one page of my website, so you got to go to the dummies thing. But yeah, it's on there.
Yeah.
So
you go from now I'm actually laughing, but because this is funny. You're writing a book for dummies because you get the phone call by the dummy producer or whatever. But then you go from that to truly rewriting the law in Indiana.
Well, not rewriting.
Well, yeah, I mean, what I've been...
Yeah, thank you, Justin. Not rewriting, writing.
Well, and both. But it's a great point because, since I'm passionate about Second Amendment rights, where we gain or lose Second Amendment rights invariably is in the legislature, whether it's in Congress, in D.C., or it's here locally in the Indiana General Assembly. And through a preemption law we were able to pass in 2011, local governments, for the most part, have to fuck off when it comes to your Second Amendment rights. If the city of Carmel wants to say, I can't carry a gun down Main Street, they can't pass that law because we have what's called a preemption law that says local governments can't regulate firearms.
But a restaurant can say, you can't come in my restaurant.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
I can have, as a business owner, I can have whatever policy I want, just like I can say no Tom Brady jerseys, or I can say no everyday GSD T-shirts. Or
that won't go over well.
Yeah, no. Or I can say, no guns allowed. So a business owner can.
Right.
But we're talking about controlling local governments.
So if I have a restaurant, is that enforceable by law?
Is what I'm sorry?
If I have a restaurant, you come in my restaurant with a gun, and I have a thing that says don't bring a gun. Can I get arrested for that?
No. Well, that's a great question.
So I'm going to in case they can't hear it. So what Justin just asked, and again, we are going to get Justin the microphone. I keep saying it every episode, and he's going to get the headset so he can, because I'm always asking him questions. He's also Google, by the way. He has all the fucking answers. So I love that he's got all these questions for you.
When he asked great questions.
Yeah. So the question that he asked is, if you were to go into a restaurant that has a sign that says you are not allowed to be in here with this gun, is that punishable by law? And with me not being a lawyer, not even the closest, not even the closest to a lawyer, my guess is no, but they can kick you out of the restaurant and you need to leave.
Well, and you're exactly right, but that's also because you live in Indiana. For instance, in several other states, including Texas, like we always think Texas is so gun friendly. Hell no. Texas has a bunch of laws restricting our Second Amendment rights that we don't have in Indiana.
I did not know that.
Absolutely. I'll tell you some, but one of them is,
I want to hear it.
One of them is that in Texas, if there's a particular sign up at the entrance to a building and it says no guns allowed pursuant to Texas code, and I carry a gun in there, then I've just committed a crime and I can go to jail for that. Indiana doesn't have that law.
Oh, shit.
So you just nailed it, Darin. And the way you described it is exactly right. If I go into a business that has a no gun sign, that means I've violated their policy. That's no different than a sign that says masks required, right? Or a sign that says no shirt, no
mask.
shoes, no service.
No shoes, no shirt.
It's exactly the same thing. So if I go in there with no mask on and they got a mask required sign, they can go, hey, knucklehead, you got to have a mask on. You got to leave. I leave. If I say, nah, fuck you, I'm not going anywhere. I can be here if I want to. Now I'm trespassing, and I can go to jail for trespassing. But if I just go, oh, yep, okay, sorry, my bad, and I leave, I've committed no crime. In some other states like Texas, I could actually go to answer your question, I could go to jail for that. Indiana doesn't have that law.
And I will say in Indiana, I know several restaurants and bars that I know the owners very well, and they've put signs up that say they got the little gun with the little
Yeah,
line
the international no symbol through
yeah,
it. Yeah,
but I've talked to the owners. I was like, what's the story with that? And literally every 3 out of 3 owners, and I won't say the name of the restaurants or bars because we have local people that listen to this, and these guys are awesome restaurants and bars. All 3 of them have told me they put that sign up because they don't want someone coming in there showing that they have a gun. If you walk in there with a gun and they know you have it, they can see it underneath your shirt or your pants. They're like, we don't care because we believe in the Second Amendment, but we don't want some jackass to come in here with some long gun or something, like acting like an asshole because he thinks he can get away with it.
I get that.
I get it. At the same time, I literally just had this conversation the other day with one of the restaurant owners because I had not noticed that sticker on the window. Yeah. And I said, when did you guys put that up? And they literally said, this guy came in and he literally had a gun sling. And I go, really? Like he just walked in downtown Carmel, and they're like, yeah, so we just put the sticker up because we know the Leos here. We know the guys that are prior military. Sure. We know the guys and girls that carry guns and people that we don't know that come in that are our patrons, and we're okay with that. But don't be an asshole.
Yeah. And and those guys, and look, as a Second Amendment advocate, somebody who fights every day for Second Amendment rights, the open carry guys who want to carry their AR-15 into the grocery store or into a restaurant, I always say to them the same thing. I go, stop being on my side, man. You're not helping. I mean, they'll say, well, it's my right. I go, I get it. And right now, today, it's legal. It's legal for you to carry your fucking AR-15 into Kroger.
Yeah.
Guess what? You keep doing it, and they're going to make it illegal.
Yeah, it's legal for you to burn the flag, but don't fucking do it in front of me.
Great point. And I keep saying,
fair enough, Justin?
Yeah, absolutely. I keep saying, stop being on my side. Because, look, I'm all for exercise of rights. But ask yourself the question, are you helping or are you hurting? Right. I mean, when people see you doing that, are they going to go, oh, yeah, that's cool, I support that guy? Or are they going to go, there ought to be a law against that? Right. And next thing you know, guess what? I'm spending dozens or hundreds of hours down at the Indiana General Assembly fighting against the bill that somebody just introduced that says you can't carry your AR-15 into fucking Kroger. Right. And I don't want to be down there fighting that battle. I got time that I need to spend on fighting the battles that I want to spend. Right. So don't create a battle for me that I never needed to fight. I understand that you're right, man, but you're not helping. You're hurting the cause at the end of the day. Wise the fuck up.
Yeah. Yeah, well said. And when you talk about spending your time, like for example, and I don't know how deep we can go into this conversation, so you let me know. You say what you can say, and then we can move on. Sure. But Eli, the gentleman who was in the Greenwood Mall in Greenwood, Indiana, which is nationally known now because there was a mass shooter in there, and this mass shooter just started fucking shooting people. Yep. And this kid, Eli. You can correct me when I'm done. I'm just going to tell you he's in his early 20s, 21, 22 years old, and he's got a personal carry that he's allowed to have, and he goes in there and he's with his girlfriend, and, he's been shooting with, I think I read in the newspaper somewhere that he had been shooting with his grandfather or something like this.
When he was a young kid.
When he was a kid. And so because in Indiana, you're allowed to have this, as your personal carry. And this fucking crazy dude in the mall is shooting people, and he fucking kills them. And he does it in my opinion, a very safe way, because I saw some videos that now oddly enough, I couldn't find them online. I was looking the other day to show another one of my friends. You can actually see him like telling people like to get out of the way, and he fucking kills the guy. He kills the potential mass shooter.
Mass shooter, yeah.
And you're his lawyer. And when I found that out, I was like, first of all, 2 things on that. And I was like, I know that he's represented with the best fucking gun lawyer there is.
I appreciate that.
And then number 2, why does he need a fucking lawyer?
Great question.
And that's what blew my mind. So again, I don't want to monopolize our time with that story, but I'm sure there's a lot of listeners that like, oh, I know that Greenwood shooting that happened several months ago. And, yeah, it was fucking all over the news. And I just have to say one other thing on that I really loved, that the local police in Indiana immediately jumped on the media and said thank you to this guy, instead of letting the media kick this dude in the balls and go, well, what's this guy got to go? They're like, hero, thank you. Eli, thank you. And Eli, if you're listening out there, if you're a podcast guy, thank you, brother. I appreciate you.
Well, you talk about a true hero. And look, I just got back, literally just got back Saturday from 5 days at Gunsight Training Academy, where I'm running around, with a gun, trying to be as well trained as I could possibly be. And this is a kid, he's 22.
Yeah.
And he's a big kid. He's 6'3", a good sized guy, but he had the courage, and he had the ability, and he had the determination and the willingness to step up and protect people around him.
He wasn't in the military. He wasn't trained by the military. He wasn't a special operator. He was a kid at the mall with his girlfriend.
Exactly right. And then the ability, and see, I mean, I just spent 5 days again. I'm taking a kind of a high level class out at Gunsight, and so much of it is they try to put pressure on you, to perform under pressure. How much pressure could there possibly be than watching people die around you?
Yeah.
And then taking that threat on and being willing.
Yeah.
And then not capable. And his first 4 shots, and I'm getting into basically what the police chief down there, James Eisen, who's a great guy, by the way.
What's his name?
James Eisen.
Okay, thank you.
And he's done a great job. He's an excellent police officer. He's a former sniper on their SWAT team down there. So he's a guy who understands the dynamics of a situation like this. But he came out and declared Eli a hero soon after it happened. But Eli's first 4 shots were from 42 yards away. I went 42 yards. I know. I lasered it. I went to the mall from the table he was sitting at, and from where he took a position.
42 yards, and it was a Glock that he had?
Yeah, it was Glock, a Glock 19. And so it's even a compact Glock.
Yeah.
And
single stack?
Glock 19 is double stack.
Okay.
But he from 42 yards away, and overall shot 10 shots total, hit 8 out of 10 shots.
8 out of 10. In
that situation with screaming people running across your sight picture.
Oh yeah.
And
mad chaos.
And this kid hit 8 out of 10 shots. And you know what was interesting, and we'll get back to the specifics of that, but here just 3 weeks ago, I was taking a class from a great organization called the Warrior Poet Society, where I'm taking a handgun class from them. It's a concealed carry class. Because even though I've been an instructor for 30 years,
I love that you constantly are taking classes. Because I always see you on social media, and I'll text you or something, and you're like, like you said, you just got back from, because I was going to have you on previously. Yeah. And you're like, I can't, I'm going to Arizona for a 5-day training course. I'm like, oh, he's instructing down there. And you're like, no, I'm a student. I'm a student. I'm like, it's constantly learning. Do you want to grab him a... Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's all good. But no, I learned a ton out there too. But I was at this Warrior Poet Society course here 3 weeks ago or so at the Lebanon Police Department. By the way, Lebanon Police Department is hosting some of the best instrucors, best shooters in the world right here in Boone County, central Indiana. Thank you, brother. I appreciate that. And anyway, I was at a training class there, and the very last drill we were going to do, kind of a test for everybody in the whole thing, the instructor, fabulous, badass door kicker guy. I mean, this guy, you would love this man, being a door kicker yourself, named John Latham and John Lovell. And anyway, Lovell. Okay. The last drill we're going to do, he called, hey, now we're going to do what we call the Dickin drill. And he had no idea that I was Eli Dickin's lawyer. And he lines everybody up. We divided us into 3 teams. And
I love this story already.
He divided us up into 3 teams of 4 people in a team, and he sets a target up, a steel target, just a silhouette target about that tall, 40 yards away. And he goes, okay. He goes, the first guy up has to hit this thing 8 times because Eli made 8 out of 10 shots. He goes, you got to hit this thing 8 times before the next person in your team can step up and start shooting. And the first team to get all the way through, all 4 people, wins the competition.
So every person has to hit it 8 times?
Everybody has to hit it 8 times.
Okay.
And the first team for each person, all 4 people, from 40 yards away. Yeah. Right. And so we're standing there, and I'm like, okay, I got this, and I'm kind of getting focused. And so suddenly one of the guys in the class goes, well, that's Eli's lawyer right there. And Lovell goes, and he's from, I forget, Tennessee or somewhere.
Okay.
And he looks at her and goes, what the fuck are you talking about? He goes, that guy, the big old bald guy right there, that's Eli's lawyer. And he goes, get the fuck out. You're lawyer. You're Eli's lawyer. And I said, yeah, I am. And he goes, first of all, and he's all infatuated now, right?
Yeah, and you're ready to start, but he's like, okay, hold on.
Hold on. And he goes, wait a minute. He goes, is this really true? First of all, because there's a lot of stuff on the internet that says it wasn't really 40 yards. It was 40 feet. And that's just a typo or a misstatement on the internet. I said, brother, I went down there with my laser rangefinder, which is accurate to about 2 inches. And I said, I lasered it and it was 42 yards. And he goes, hold on. And he runs out on the range and he moves the target back 2 more yards.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
And then we ran the drill. Oh, get this. So we're talking about all the training I do, right? I'm a junkie. I'm an instructor. I get a training all the time. It took me 14 shots to hit the son of a bitch 8 times. And I'm an instructor.
Yeah.
And
you've been doing this for a while.
I've been doing this for a long time. And guess what? And there's nobody screaming at me.
Right.
And there's nobody,
there's no real people dying.
And I'm not trying to, there's nobody bleeding on the floor. Yeah. And I'm not redirecting people out of the mall. I'm an instructor.
Yeah.
It took me 14 shots to hit that thing 8 times from 42 yards away. And Eli did 8 out of 10.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're a religious guy at all, but man, I got one theory. The hand of God was on him, man. The hand of God was on Eli Dickin that day. There's no doubt in my mind. And he delivered, man. And when the bad guy, when he went down, had 3 fully loaded 30-round mags on him and still had a mag in his AR that was half full. So he had over 100 rounds in a mall getting ready to close with no armed security.
Yeah.
How many people could that guy have killed?
A bunch. And, interesting about that. So Evan calls me up. Evan's my president of my company. He's a great guy. And so he just moved from Greenwood to Greenfield.
Yeah.
And his kids still have friends in Greenwood. So oddly enough, he's been going back on the weekends and bringing the kids to the mall and because they still have their friends. And he drops them off the mall and then he goes and does errands and stuff and then picks them up 2-3 hours later. And his kid's like, hey, we want to go to the mall. It was that day. And for some reason, he was like, I was tired. I was grumpy. And he goes, I just said no. And so he did not bring his kids that day to the mall. And literally, when the shooting happened, I texted him when it was on the news. I texted him. I go, bro, were you in Greenwood today? And he goes, no. He goes, I'm going to call you. And he called me. He goes, and one of his kids was really upset that he didn't bring him. This is before the shooting, of course. He's like the kids, they're like 14, 15-year-old kids. And the youngest one's pouting and complaining. He's like, I want to go. Like, my friends are there. Like, I got a girlfriend there. Like, whatever. You know how 14-year-old kids are.
Sure. Oh,
and he was
absolutely.
like, and he's just basically, shut the fuck up. You're not going today. And he goes, I honestly, Darin, he goes, I didn't have a real reason not to bring them, except something was telling me. And he goes, oh, and he's not religious, but he goes, something was telling me they're not going today. And I know there's probably a lot of those stories out there, but I can tell you, maybe people can say, oh, I was going to go, but I didn't go. And I know he'd been going there every weekend because he just moved. And when he told me that, I was like, I had the hair on my arms, my back of my neck. And I was like, you potentially saved your kids' lives.
Well, get this.
Because you don't know.
Yeah, no, exactly. And that does, man.
Yeah,
that
right?
just, that gets
it's right
to you,
now.
right? Absolutely. Yeah. Get this. So the shooting happens. Eli's family gets a hold of me even during the time he was being interrogated by the Greenwood Police Department. In fact, I had to make the decision of whether I was going to go screaming down there and walk in and go, okay,
I'm taking this.
Hey
guys, I'm his lawyer.
Right. But by the time they got a hold of me, it was pretty much over. So I'm talking to Eli and the family, later, including
bless you, Justin,
including the next morning, and we're going through all of this, and they decided to hire me, which I was honored, and so I made a public statement the next day that he's not going to be making any public statements because everybody. Every news outlet in the world was trying to get a hold of it.
Oh, yeah.
And
I was getting messages from people all over the country that I have friends with, former operators, just people I know from everywhere. And they're like, bro, how close is this to you? Do you know this mall? I'm like, yeah, man, it's right down the street from my factory, like 15 minutes. It's south
absolutely.
of my factory in Indianapolis. And everyone's asking me, what's going on? I'm like, I got nothing.
Right. But I'm talking to CNN and Fox News. By the way, one of the highlights of my career after 39 years as a lawyer is telling CNN to pound sand about 10 different times. That was fun. I enjoyed that.
I love it.
But I'm talking to everybody. I mean, all the major networks and whatnot, and I'm responding to them. And so I'm out there, being publicly identified as Eli's lawyer. And this goes on, for several days. In fact, I probably spent 5 days where I didn't do anything in my office except deal with people trying to get a hold of Eli.
So what'd you do? Have all Eli? There's no communication to anyone, buddy.
No,
like
right, done.
And
no public statement, and that's it.
So where is he? Like he's held up in his house, just hanging out with his family, or where's he's in a safe spot?
He's in a safe spot.
He's in a safe spot, and you're like, I'm going to handle all calls.
I did 100%, and that's and when you asked a smart question earlier, Darin, which is why does he need a lawyer? Look, is he going to get prosecuted for a crime? Absolutely not. Is he going to get sued? Probably not, because somebody'd have to be a fucking idiot to sue him because of our new self-defense immunity law that we were just discussing earlier.
Right.
Maybe somebody will be some lawyer. Is there some lawyer out there dumb enough to file that lawsuit? I hope so. Because you know what? I'll get it dismissed and I'll put a bunch of money in Eli's pocket for the idiot having been dumb enough to sue him.
Right.
But at the meantime, I can be a spokesperson. I can field all those media calls. And this is really more being just his representative and his spokesperson than even really being his lawyer. But also a couple of other things. Right on social media, Shannon Watts, who's head of Moms Demand Action. I don't know, you know that group. It's a big anti-gun group. She goes out there and said, well, it's a sad day in America when the gun nuts are celebrating when a 22-year-old illegally carries a gun into a mall.
Oh, maybe illegally in the mall.
No. It's not illegal. That's the point.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know.
We just covered that.
Yeah.
Because it was against the mall's policy, but it's not illegal.
Correct.
So she just falsely accused him of a crime. Guess what? That's something we call defamation per se. And I got on Twitter and I said,
smart guy Justin's over there shaking his head. He knows his terms.
Defamation per se. If I falsely accuse you of committing a crime, that's defamation per se. That means if it's false and you said it intentionally, I win in a defamation case. So I went right out there. And
so it's against just to back up in case anyone's just jumping in now, to back up, it could be against the rules of the mall to carry a gun, which is policy, which means if he was asked to leave, he would have to leave, or he's potentially trespassing if he caused a problem, but that never happened. Right. So it's not illegal. It's not against the law to be in there. You're just not following the standard operating procedure for that facility.
Right. If there's
it's like going to a Colts game when you got to go through the little metal detector. And anyone listening to this, I've been to a Colts game and I've brought a gun in there before, and there's ways to do it very easily, and I've done it, and I think you and I have talked about it.
I could give a class on this, actually.
Yeah, and I think you and I have talked about it, and there was a time where it was getting a little sketchy and down there, and I said, you know what, I'm just going to make sure my beautiful wife Jonica and I are safe. I'm not doing it, not over there going, hey, check out, I've got a gun, but I can tell you that nothing's going to happen to me or her if I'm next to her.
That's right.
That's
so you're not violating the law.
Correct.
That's an important point.
Right.
And so when Shannon Watts, head of Moms Demand Action, which is probably one of the biggest anti-gun, anti-Second Amendment groups in the country, puts out on Twitter that he illegally carried a gun into the mall, I got right up her ass right off the bat and said, that's defamation per se. Didn't you idiots learn anything from Nicholas Sandmann? Remember that name?
Yeah.
Or Kyle Rittenhouse. And, and I said, that's called defamation per se. And 10 seconds later, that tweet was taken down. And we're still considering whether we want to sue her ass or not. So he's not going to be sued. Somebody would have to be an idiot to sue him. He's definitely not going to be prosecuted. But there's a lot of things as a lawyer you can do. And really more as a spokesperson than anything. And so I've been honored to do that on his behalf.
Yeah. And I think locally in Indiana, people that know you are thankful you're doing that because people respect you and they know your knowledge. But I think, nationally, I don't know, we can talk about people who know you nationally or they don't, but I don't think people understand that this kid's in good hands.
Oh, I appreciate that.
And that's a fact, and
he's a good kid, by the way. I've
heard that.
He's just a great kid.
Yeah.
He just really is. And he's humble and
how's he doing? Because obviously that's traumatic for people. And how's he mentally doing? Do you know?
Well, I don't want to invade his privacy.
Absolutely. And we don't even have to answer that.
But I will tell you this. I will tell you that he's now the 6th client I've had that's taken a human life. And every one of them have been completely justified in doing so. And I don't want to invade Eli's privacy, but I can tell you that there's something common among all 6 of them, which is it's a big damn deal.
Yeah.
And it's something that they all, have to get their heads around, and they're going to struggle with. And especially when you're a good person, when you're not cavalier about human life.
Right.
And so I'll leave it at that. But,
yeah, fair enough. I can see it's a little emotional.
Well, he's just a really good
But at
kid.
the end of the day, he's a 22-year-old kid.
Yeah.
And he was at I'm going to say it like this, and someone else could correct me. He was at the right place at the right time. Someone else will say he was at the wrong place, but I think he was at the right place because he saved a lot of lives. And at the end of the day, because of him, there's a lot of lives that were not lost. So
totally.
Yeah.
And, it's funny. I was talking to the police chief down there, James Eisen, again, who I have a lot of admiration for. Good guy, good cop. And Greenwood's lucky to have him. But I was talking to him, and this is before anybody'd seen the video, and the video still has not been publicly released. And there's good security video, but the police chief down there is talking to me, and he goes, man, I brought my SWAT team in. I don't think he'd mind if I tell this story. He goes, I brought my SWAT team in, and we all watched the video together of Eli, hitting 8 out of 10 shots, starting at 40 yards away. Turned out 42.
It's amazing. And I heard his
people
sights,
don't understand with a handgun.
and I heard his sights were fucked up too. Is that true?
Yeah.
I know some people, man, and
this hasn't been publicly discussed.
Okay, I won't say anymore.
But no, that's all right.
Yeah,
I'll go into it a little bit with you.
Because it's not just me and you in a bar right now. Just
I know.
Just remember.
No, I get it. I'll go into it a little bit, but I'm talking to James Eisen, and he goes, I brought my SWAT team in, and we all watched the video together of this kid hitting 8 out of 10 shots, starting at 42 yards away, and people don't understand how long a shot that is with a handgun.
Yeah,
and it's fundamentally different than
with a subcompact too.
Yeah, it's with a compact.
Yeah,
a compact. But anyway, and so he goes. I looked around at the guys on my SWAT team and said, "Could you guys have all made that shot?" And everybody's kind of going,
"Yeah, crickets."
And so but I mean that's the amazing thing. But I'm convinced, and I am a religious guy. I grew up. My dad's at 91 years of age, just recently at 88, retired as a Methodist pastor. And I'm convinced, man, that the hand of God was on that kid, and somebody whose life he changed, whose life he saved, is going to, like, their grandson's going to cure cancer.
Yeah, something good.
Or something.
Yeah, right.
I mean, because you watch that and you understand those facts, especially as somebody who trains and shoots a lot.
Yeah.
It's divine intervention.
Yeah,
that's the only explanation I have for it.
I was just at the Marine Corps Depot in San Diego. I was speaking to the new DSF team, Deployable Specialized Forces for the Coast Guard. They had like 2 weeks left, and
that's awesome. About getting shit done. That's awesome.
Talking about mindset, getting shit done, and they had 2 weeks left, so they're just getting over the hump, right? They're there. The class is whittled down to people that have quit, and you got some injured people, but at the end of the day,
they can see the end here.
They're close. And and it's funny because after, one of the guys came up to me and he goes, "You live in Indiana?" And I said, "Yeah." And he asked me about Greenwood. And he goes, "What do you think about that?" And I was like, "I think this kid's a fucking hero."
Yeah.
And he goes, "No, that's not what my question is." He goes, "What do you think about how he was able to do that? From like 40 yards, because that's public information." And I go, I don't know the details, but I can tell you that I was told that the kid like practiced shooting with his grandfather when he was a kid or something.
Just when he was a kid.
And I go, all of a sudden something came into him, and he did what the best thing he could possibly do, and eliminated the threat, which is that's what we're trained for, right? We're trained when you're in the military, you're trained to eliminate the threat, right? Whatever that means, whatever that threat is. And this kid was not in the military, and kudos to him. And I hope that he gets the proper help he needs mentally, so this doesn't fuck his life up in the future. And thank you for supporting him, making sure that the vultures aren't just coming after him, because I think that's a huge benefit that he has, that because you're here and you're able to do that. Is a quick question for you: is there a fund that are people raising money to help him, or is that even been established? Is that needed?
Well,
I
yeah,
think we can give a shout out to like whatever the website.
no, there
is.
has been one. If you go to GoFundMe and search for Eli Dickin, there is one. It was set up by State Representative Jim Lucas. Actually, set that up, and it was originally set up to support him for his legal fees. Except I'm representing him pro bono. I'm not charging him.
Fucking this guy's amazing, right?
Well,
He's
no.
like, yeah, I'm just doing it because I want to help the kid.
No, I mean,
Because everyone has to pay their bills, and there should be a GoFundMe for you, bro.
well, and I think that's kind of why Jim set it up. Except the way GoFundMe works, and this is cool. This is the way GoFundMe should work. Is if if money's being raised on behalf of Eli Dickin, then Eli Dickin ought to decide exactly where that money goes.
Right.
So, and if Eli at some point down the road decides to say, hey man, I want to send you some money for your time or whatever, but that's up to Eli. Yeah. And I made it very clear on the day they hired me is that I'm not charging him a dime.
Yeah.
And if he wants to, I'm sure Mrs. Relford would appreciate that.
Because we know she likes Chardonnay.
Yeah, well, yeah, and nice shoes.
And nice shoes.
But no, in all seriousness, I represented Eli, and I did it pro bono for free because it's going to sound like ego because I'm the right guy to represent him.
It's not. It's not. And just anyone who's listening that doesn't know you, that's not ego. That's a fact.
I've done this a lot of times.
I literally, when I, as soon as I heard this happen in my mind, and I wasn't thinking he needed a lawyer because I don't think like that.
Right.
And I was like, I guarantee you, my buddy Guy is already on this. And then I found out from Bill that you were his lawyer, our mutual friend Bill. And yeah. Bill Whitley, if you're listening, you're a good dude too.
Great man. Yeah. Been my buddy for 50 years.
Yeah, you guys went to school together, like high school or something.
Yeah, played football together.
Nice. But we won't go down the football days. But when he told me you were representing him, I was like, that's like, it was for me. I was like, I can only imagine if I had a kid that was 22 years old and I'm in Indiana, and I'm just like, who do you call? Because there's so many people that are going to take advantage of him or try to take advantage of him. And I love that the first thing you said, it's not about trying to protect him right now or immediately from a lawsuit. It's more about answering the calls and telling CNN to go fuck themselves or whoever's trying to
just taking that burden off of him.
Yeah, because that's a lot. That's pressure that individual's never saw in his life. And hopefully never has to deal with ever again.
No, exactly. And even though it's just a local radio show in Indianapolis on WIBC, I've been doing media stuff for a long time. I've had my show for 8 years, and I'm totally comfortable.
And that's down in the circle, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And so I was totally comfortable with fielding all those calls. Yeah. And like I said, it was kind of cool, when Tucker's producer calls you or Hannity's producer calls and you want to say yes at the same time. Eli made it very clear early on he didn't want to make public statements. Plus, neither he nor I are going to make any public statements until the Greenwood Police Department announces that their investigation is closed, which they have not yet done.
Right.
And Eli's authorized me to speak publicly about what happened that day. Right. Because there are a bunch of additional details that people don't know yet. Which I will do because there's an important message here, and Eli understands it. Eli and his
this goes back to the Second Amendment.
Yes, and Eli, by the way, and I've tried to be a resource for him, but the reason Eli's doing as good as he's doing, and the biggest issue is he's got a fabulous family around him right now.
I love it.
His mom, his stepdad, he's got siblings. He's got a rock solid family around him, and that's been the biggest thing by far and away, and that's why it's been fun for me just to be a resource for them. But eventually when we get into some of those details, what they understand is that there are a lot of people out there. And in fact, even since the Greenwood Park Mall shooting and Eli's heroics, there are still people out there today literally saying, oh, good guy with a gun, that never happens. It's a myth. It's a myth. That's what kills me about politics these days is it doesn't matter what the facts are. People will look at you square in the eye, or they'll look at that camera dead center, and they'll tell you something they know for a fucking fact is a lie, and they'll look at you right in the eye and say it.
Would you think some of these crazy fuckers, they believe it's real? So they when you're a kid, you heard this, like don't first of all, you shouldn't lie, right? But then little Bobby, he believes that lie, and that's why he's saying that. Do you think some of these people actually believe the bullshit that's coming out of their mouth?
I think there's
Justin, are we getting controversial?
I love it. Actually, I think this is
I think there's.
podcast you've done.
Did you hear that?
No.
He goes, I think this is the most important podcast you've done. The fucking champ here.
I think there's some of that. I think some people are so fucking stupid that they don't understand what they're saying.
Right.
But because they're so focused on their ideology, they're so focused on their political doctrine that they don't care what the facts are, and they're willing to be convinced of anything. But I think that's a minority. I think many more of people, they know what the facts are. They just don't fucking care.
Well, and I think I like that you said earlier where you're like, I don't want the asshole with an AR walking into Kroger or Meijer, because you're not helping anyone.
You're not helping.
You're not helping anyone. And I know you're very, very pro-gun. You're very intelligent when it comes to the laws. You've written some of them, and some very important ones, obviously, in Indiana. But most importantly, I remember I sat in your office, and I love your office, by the way. I remember, side note, when someone stole your ashtray outside, I was so fucking pissed. I know we are getting on a tangent here, but I don't care. You made a post on Facebook or something, and you were like, hey, for the guy that stole my ashtray, because you have the 2 chairs out there.
Yeah, my cigar chairs.
Yeah, I was so pissed. I was like,
you've had a cigar in my chair.
Yeah, I was like, who the fuck would steal his ashtray? Like, are you kidding me? Like, come on, I want, like, you know how you see on Facebook where they got the camera of like the image of someone, and and Bill always posts stuff like that. He's like, find this guy, it's Indianapolis criminal or something, they just robbed a house, and it's a picture. I'm like, I want to see a picture of the guy in Carmel that stole his fucking ashtray, because I want to beat his ass, and I want to drag him by his fucking head and bring him back in and make him apologize and give him back the ashtray.
You know why I was bummed about that? Is because it was actually a free ashtray. Tony Katz, who does the Eat, Drink, Smoke podcast, and he's a great host, the predominant host on WIBC. Tony Katz, who reviews cigars and reviews bourbon. Right. I'm a big fan of both, obviously. Brought me that ashtray one day just because he was coming by to have a cigar. Because I call those chairs. I have one that's painted like the United States flag, and one's painted like the Indiana flag, and one that's got the Carmel emblem in the middle, so it's Carmel, Indiana, USA. Yeah. And they're kind of a landmark. I mean, I'll be telling a client how to get to my office. They're like, are you by those cool chairs, the USA chair and the Indiana chair? No, those are my chairs.
Yeah, they're actually my chairs.
Yeah, those are my chairs.
And guess what? In Indiana, we don't have to lock them up.
Right. Well, that's the point.
Right.
And it is that I was so proud that I had that. It's a ceramic ashtray. It's probably worth $20.
Yeah, whatever.
Maybe at the most. I was so proud that I could let that sit out there, and that nobody, for 2 years, nobody stole that ashtray. Yeah. And then one day I walk out there and the ashtray's gone. And it wasn't the $20 ashtray. It was damn it. I can no longer say this is such a cool place down here in the art and design district of Carmel, that it's such a cool place. I don't have to worry about some fuckhead stealing my ashtray. Yeah. That was, I mean,
any other city, those chairs would have been gone day one.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And you had them out there, and like I said, I digress, because I just remember seeing that, and I was like, are you they stole his ashtray? Do they even know whose ashtray that is? Because that was.
I mean, I'm not going to shoot somebody for stealing my ashtray.
No, but I mean, a good slap in the fucking back of the head, right? But because that was
for an old guy, I can still slap you.
Because that was about the time, and I'm plus or minus on months on that, but where there was a bomb threat at your place.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
yeah. And I remember the streets were all closed down, because before that, unfortunately, there was a shooting near where I reside. Right down the street, unfortunately, the SWAT team.
Oh, yeah. I've talked to the whole SWAT team about that.
Yeah, and as you know,
Carmel PD was awesome in that.
Yeah, and I'm friends with several of the SWAT guys, and one particularly that's helped out our community.
Yeah, absolutely.
I won't say his name on here because I don't want to put out his business, but
sure.
It's a very good friend of mine, and he was, obviously one of the shooters to eliminate the threat.
Yes.
And
they were rock stars that
day. They were rock stars.
They did everything
right. And it's
right.
very close to my house, which this does not happen here normally. And I remember getting all these messages.
We could throw a baseball there from your house.
Yes.
It was that close.
It was that close. And I remember getting messages. I just came from the gym, and I was going to grab lunch with Jonica, and we were in about 146th Street grabbing lunch at a local place. And I'm getting text messages. Everything okay? Are you guys good? I'm like, yeah, what's going on? They're sending me images of the police, because on the roundabout they had blocked the street off. And so fast forward to when there was the bomb threat at your place, and I'm like, in Carmel. I was like, well, it is Guy. And there's the fucking haters out there, man. And then people were sending me, they're like, hey, are you near there? Are you okay? And I'm like, oh yeah, this isn't about me.
Well,
it's not about me.
That was really an interesting day because I had a meeting. I had a meeting over coffee with a couple of state legislators earlier that day, like at 8:00. And so I didn't get to my office till like 10. And so I get to my office, which is stone's throw from your house.
Yeah, we're all in the real quaint little area.
And so I go in, I sit down, I'm kind of, getting going and get my computer going, and I'm figuring out what I'm going to do for the day. And I look up, and there are 3 CPD officers walking in toward my door. And my door to my office is all glass. And I see these guys walking up. And the first thing I noticed is that their holsters were
unsnapped.
And I'm going, these guys are open for business. And I look up and they're kind of wave at me, and I wave back, and I go, come on in, man. You guys all right? What's going on?
Yeah.
And they came in and they said, how long you been here? And I said, I just walked in. I've been here like 5 minutes. And I said, something I can do for you? Can I help you guys out? And they said, well.
And they all know you.
I mean
relatively.
Yeah.
The more senior guys know you.
Well, yeah, no, the CPD guys, because it goes back to the cigar chairs. I sit out in front of my office at the end of the day, smoke a cigar and have a bourbon or a beer, and I'm waving to all the CPD guys. They'll stop. They'll come up and talk to me. And they're great, by the way. We are lucky to have the police force that we have in Carmel.
Are amazingly lucky.
And by some highly trained son of a bitches, too.
Yes.
There's some dudes that have done some amazing stuff. People don't understand.
Yeah.
But anyway, separate story. So I see these guys, and I'm like, yeah, come on in, man. What's going on? They're like, you been here very long? I go, no, I've been here like 10 minutes. And they're kind of looking around. They go, anybody else here but you? And I'm like, no, man, just me. What's going on? And they said, well, we had a call. It said, I'm in Guy Relford's office. I'm sitting at Guy Relford's desk. I'm about to blow up this fucking building, which is the building on the southeast corner of Rangeline in Maine.
Yeah.
And I said, well, I didn't make that call. They go,
y'all know it wasn't me.
Yeah. And they're like, no, we didn't think it was you. And the number that came up apparently at Carmel Dispatch or 911 that went to Carmel was a Kansas number. And they said, well, man, you mind if we search your office? I go, of course not. So they go around my office, and I got to tell you, they brought in the dogs. They have, I had no idea that Carmel had dogs capable of doing, bomb detection. They brought in the dogs.
Oh, yeah.
They had,
our police department's badass, man.
They are badass.
They are badass.
They are incredibly well trained. And you talk to some of the individuals that understand their backgrounds, you're going, I got him as...
Because you know who I was talking about. Again, I'm not going to say his name.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. Former Marine, sniper.
Sniper in the Marine.
Sniper.
I know exactly who you're talking about.
Legit badass. Badass. But anyway, continue. I'm going to pour you a little more.
Yeah, no, it's all good. So I'm talking to these guys, and they go, well, we had a call that said, I'm in Guy Relford's office, sitting at Guy Relford's desk. And this is where it got interesting to me, is that they said, I'm sitting at his desk, and I'm about to blow up this fucking building. I think, and I'm not trying to dramatize this, I think it was a swatting. I think somebody who had an attitude about me for whatever reason,
right,
wanted them to show up and go, well, that guy's sitting at Guy Relford's desk. That must be the bad guy.
Let's shoot him.
And wanted them to come in at least with guns drawn. And I carry a gun everywhere I go.
Always.
Now I see somebody walking in my office with a gun. What do I pull my gun out? Now suddenly I get swatted in the form of being shot, right? What they didn't understand is all the CPD guys know me, and I know all of them. So they're like, hey, Guy, so we have a discussion. So at that point, they said, well, we're going to have to sweep the whole building for bombs. And I go, understood.
That's when they started blocking off the street.
That's when they blocked off all the streets.
That's when I was getting blown up with text messages.
And at that point, they said, well, obviously, you need to leave. And I said, are you requiring me to leave? And I wouldn't be in confrontational. And I just said, do I have to leave? And they go, well, you don't have to, but we obviously recommend it since there's supposedly a bomb in the building. I went, fuck these people. I went out and I took, it was like 10 in the morning, so I didn't take a glass of bourbon, but I took my coffee and I took a cigar and I sat right in front of my office and I smoked this fucking cigar.
Yeah.
I'm like, fuck these people. If they're going to blow me up, blow me up.
Yeah.
I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah.
You're only terrorized if you're willing to be terrorized.
Right.
That's what they want to do. They want to scare you.
Say that again.
You're only terrorized if you're willing to be terrorized. That's what terror. Right. That's what terror is, right?
Yeah.
You know, if you're a terrorist, what are you trying to do? You're trying to invoke terror in your victim.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
Yeah.
You're not terrorizing me. I'm going to sit right in front of my office. I'm going to smoke a cigar.
Yeah.
And that's
with my ashtray or without it.
Exactly right. I wish I'd said that.
Yeah, no, that's great.
So
that's
I did.
Great.
I sat in front of my office and get this. So they do the whole sweep, and CPD was so badass, man. They were awesome. But they get all the way done with the thing, and I'm still sitting out there. I'm finishing my cigar, and they go, "Hey, man, we didn't find anything. You know, we think it's probably a hoax, and you know, we're going to take off." And I go, "Cool." And right then, I look at my cell phone, and I had forwarded my office phone to my cell, and it says Kansas call, and they had already told me that the call to 911 that said there was a bomb threat
from Kansas
came from Kansas. So I go, and the cop's standing right there, and I go, "Hey, bro," I go, "I'm getting a call from Kansas," and he goes, "Take it." So we step in off of Range Line into the entrance to the building right there in the little hallway where it's quiet, and I answered it on
speakerphone.
And so I go, "Guy Relford," and it's this dude, and the cop, neither the cop nor I could figure out whether it was a legit accent or whether it was bullshit.
Right.
But it was an Arabic, Middle Eastern accent.
Right.
"We will kill you. We will kill you and your family. We will kill your son." Like, or which one? I got two, man. But anyway, he's
do your homework.
"Yeah, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill you." And he's cussing at me and yada yada. And I finally went, "Man, dude, why are you mad at me?" "Oh, fuck you. I will kill you. I will kill you." And finally, I'm getting a little annoyed by this because he's going on about how he's going to kill me. So I only went, "Only if I don't kill you first, motherfucker." At which point, by the way, the CPD guy kind of looks at me and goes,
It's like, "Hey, guy, you shouldn't say that."
Yeah, I did. I said, "Only if I don't kill you first, motherfucker."
Yeah.
Because, by the way, when I was sitting out there having a cigar, I also had an SBR in a backpack sitting right next, a suppressed SBR.
Yeah.
Come on down. But it was interesting because the guy called and the cops got to listen to it.
And we'll move on after this, but were they able to trace the number? I don't know how that works.
They never did, but they came up with a theory, which is, it's interesting because there's something called EarthCam out there, earthcam.com, and EarthCam has a camera that's mounted right next to my office. And if you go to earthcam.com and search for Carmel, you'll see it. And it used to be, when it first came out, in fact, somebody called me one day or texted me or something and said, "Guy, have you seen this EarthCam Carmel thing? Because your sign says Law Office of Guy Relford with your phone number and everything is right in the foreground of this EarthCam for Carmel. It's just a webcam, just to let people watch what's going on in Carmel."
That makes sense.
And they said it's kind of great advertising, right? Because a big sign right there says Guy Relford, yada, yada. And what CPD thinks is that some idiot out there found this EarthCam, saw my sign, and from who knows where.
Right.
It could have been from Carmel. It could have been from Zimbabwe, Nigeria, who knows.
Yeah.
Called my number or saw my number, or called Carmel 911 and phoned in the bomb threat.
Right.
Because it was only 2 months later, there was a mass shooting threat at the little olive oil store right across the street from me.
That's right.
Because somebody also called in and said, "My girlfriend works at the olive oil store and she cheated on me. I'm going to go in there and kill everybody in there." And that's also right there on the same EarthCam.
So I think what we need to do is go back to the EarthCam and find out who took the fucking ashtray.
I think the ashtray was gone before they put the EarthCam up.
Hey, let's talk about the 2A project.
Yeah, okay.
Which is the Second Amendment Project, which is a nonprofit that you started, founded, I believe.
Yes, sir.
And
it's
let's
about 2.5 years ago, I got really concerned about the state of the NRA.
Right.
And look, I'm a benefactor level NRA member. I mean, a life member. I mean, I've spent thousands and thousands of dollars supporting NRA. But the NRA they're in a tough spot. They've recently declared bankruptcy. They are getting sued. They've got really questionable leadership.
For any people that don't know what the NRA is, it's the National Rifle Association.
Exactly. Yeah.
I can't imagine anyone listening to this doesn't know that, but I just
No, it's a great point. I'm glad you said it. Yeah. But so the NRA is going through some tough times, and their leadership, Wayne LaPierre, their I think executive president or what his title is, the guy that runs it, A lot of questions about his integrity. And at any rate, through the bankruptcy and them getting sued left and right, I'm worried about the effectiveness of the NRA to protect our gun rights. And I was especially concerned about it right here in Indiana. So I said, you know what? I'm not going to rely on somebody else. I'm not going to rely on NRA. I'm going to get some shit done.
GSD.
And I'm going to GSD, and I'm going to start my own organization. So I did. I started the 2A Project, and it's a Second Amendment rights organization. We're starting here in Indiana, but we're already having an effect in Congress, and it's a membership organization. People can sign up for a 1 year or 2 year or lifetime.
What's a lifetime membership cost?
$750.
So $750, and how do they sign up?
On the2aproject.com.
The number two,
and
then the
project.com.
letter, like Alpha A.
Yes, sir.
Project.com.
And you sign up for that. We got the coolest logo ever. We got great T-shirts and hats, and
but you guys do have cool apparel.
We do have cool.
Yeah.
I mean, our logo it's Lady Liberty with an AR over her head.
Yeah.
And with the red and white stripes behind her. It's a badass logo. I'm proud to have it. I'm looking to have that tattooed somewhere. I haven't quite figured out where I'm gonna put that, but it will be tattooed on my body before too long because it's a great logo.
I love it.
But in the meantime, it's all about fighting for Second Amendment rights, and we were right out front last year and this year. I mean. Look, there were a lot of great people who fought for constitutional carry, which is permitless carry, which means you don't have to go seek government permission before you carry a handgun in Indiana.
Right. And how long did you guys fight for that?
10 years.
10 years.
It's a 10-year fight.
Yeah.
But I formed the 2A Project 2 years ago. And I got to tell you, when we got that passed this year, and we were the 24th state in the country to pass it. Since then, Alabama passed it. Now they're 25.
And for anyone who doesn't understand what that means, basically, you still have to, when you go and purchase a weapon, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, when you go to your local gun shop, you go and you still have to fill out the form. You send in that what's that form called? The
4473.
4473, and then 15 to 20 minutes later, it comes back and says
it should.
Yeah, it should. Yeah, yeah. Or it says come back later.
Yeah, exactly.
Which sometimes,
or it says no.
No. Yeah, you never want the no, but sometimes
exactly.
it says come back later. But anyway, so then that allows you to purchase your weapon.
Right.
So then it's like the government knows.
Right. There's still a background check required for the purchase of firearms.
Correct.
To your point.
But you don't need to go and pay for a permit for that state to actually carry the weapon.
Exactly. But if you're
because it's your Second Amendment right that you're allowed to.
So if the Constitution says I have a right to bear arms, why do I have to go beg permission from the government to get a right I already have?
Or as one of my friends says, why do I have to pay $50 to someone to carry the weapon?
But even I mean, the lifetime license has been free for a year and a half, so it's not even money. It's why do I have to beg permission? It's about asking permission. If I have a right to do something, why do I have to beg somebody's permission to exercise a right I already have? Right. That's what a permit is. It's literally the process by which the government gives back to you a right you already had.
When I first moved to Indiana, I got my lifetime permit.
Yeah, I've had mine since they've had lifetime.
So it was the paper one, And
then,
and then I got
that falls apart if you don't laminate.
For sure. And then I got the hard card, right? But when I got the hard card, it said duplicate, and I just don't like that it says duplicate, just because I didn't lose the other one. I was like, to me, it's like a little pet peeve of mine. So like, it's that pink card, I was like, in big black letters on it, it says duplicate. I was like. It makes it look like I did something shady. No, it's not.
I thought I was OCD, man.
Yeah. And for the record, the flag fell down before we came in here today, and we ended up fixing it. So that's the OCD conversation. But
all good.
And by the way, it's very level. Your eyes made it level, and then Justin went over there with an actual,
and it was dead on,
and it was spot on.
I'll tell you,
winner chicken.
I don't have many talents, but my OCD makes me really good. It's a problem. I mean, being OCD,
it's a problem.
It's a problem. I'll be sitting in a conference room, during a negotiation over, like we're trying to settle a lawsuit, and I'll be going, that picture is so fucking crooked over there. I really got to work on that. It is a problem.
I love it. So, 2A Project. How can people get involved?
Yeah,
that want to.
Well, it's two ways. One is if you want to join, awesome. We'd love to have you.
And how do they do that?
The2wayproject.com.
Okay, and then it's got a whole application.
Yeah, and you can sign up 1 year, 2 years, or lifetime. But the biggest thing though, and Darin, this is what people don't realize, is one of the reasons we got constitutional carry passed this last year, after 10 years fighting for this, is when we had committee hearings, when we had, a vote on the floor, the Senate or the House in Indiana, we had people show the fuck up.
Yeah.
We had people show up because, for years, for like, say 4 years ago, where I talked about Shannon Wass, the lady who, inaccurately accused Eli of committing a crime. She's the head of Moms Demand Action. For years and years and years, we'd show up to committee hearing on something like or on something like constitutional carry. And you know what it was? It would be me, it'd be the local NRA rep, and it'd be an entire committee hearing room of chicks or people in red t-shirts to say Moms Demand Action who were there to argue against something like constitutional carry. It's me, the NRA guy, and an entire room of people with Moms Demand Action, for gun control,
Yep.
whatever they're, and if you don't think that has an effect, you're nuts.
You're crazy.
You're crazy. And so when I formed the 2A project, and I was going out, I was giving speeches. I teach a class, Indiana gun law, and at every single one I go, look, I'm done with this. I'm done with being me and the NRA guy in a room full of anti-gun people, because it doesn't reflect what's going on in Indiana. It doesn't reflect where people really are on these issues. I said, you know what? From now on, we're going to show up. We're going to fill the fucking room with people with T-shirts that say the 2A project.
I fucking love
with
it.
Lady Liberty with an AR in her hand. And we're going to win the day on that. We're going to create that emotion in that room that day when they're voting on that bill. We're changing this shit.
Yeah.
And we did. I got especially this last year, we had hearings where, all of a sudden there's a little corner over here with 3 or 4 red T-shirts with, gun control crap on them. And we filled the rest of the damn room with with 2A project T-shirts.
project.
And people are sitting there going, yes, it's a different dynamic in that room, and it made a huge difference. It really did.
And on your radio show, the Gun Show by Guy Relford.
It's the gun guy.
The gun guy.
The gun guy with Guy Relford,
which is at, I believe, 5 p.m. to 7 p.m.
5 to 7 on Saturdays.
On Saturdays.
WABC.
So people should call you. Do you guys you take calls?
Oh, yeah.
Right?
All 2 hours we take calls.
Yeah. So people should call into your show and ask you questions about the Second Amendment.
Whatever they want, yeah.
Or how they can participate in it, right?
Yeah. I mean, we try to keep things a little bit germane. I mean, like I had just gotten back. I just gotten off an airplane traveling out to Gunsight with an AR and a pistol. So
for those of you who don't know, you're allowed to travel with weapons.
Sure,
You just have to properly
declare them.
And have them secured properly.
Unloaded in a locked, hard-sided container.
Yep. Oh,
But
it can be a soft container, no?
No.
Oh, it's always a hard container.
Hard-sided locked container,
I knew
absolutely.
it was locked. What did you say, Justin?
Be a carry-on.
No, fuck no, you can't have a carry-on.
But make sure you tell people it can't be a fucking carry-on.
Oh, okay. Justin's saying make sure I reiterate.
Yeah, no.
Just to be clear, do not go through TSA with a carry-on. And don't even go through with a one round that happens to be in your backpack that you went to the range with, and you had your clothes in it, and because you're being stupid. Don't do it.
No, Justin, thank you for that. That's a great point.
Yeah, good.
It's declaring an unloaded firearm in your checked bag.
Yes.
And it has to be in a locked, hard-sided container, unloaded.
Yes.
And there's a whole process for doing that. Yeah. But to your question, since I had just done that, and literally my flight landed at 3:10, and I had to get my bags, including my gun, which is a whole different process for reclaiming that once it flies in, my AR-15 and a pistol. Then I had to get downtown and do radio. So I did my show on traveling with a firearm, which I had just done.
Yes, I saw you made a post. You're like, busy day or something. You wrote something. I was laughing. Yeah, no, it's good. I'm trying to think if there's anything outside we should cover. Justin, did I miss anything? Justin, as you guys know, Justin's the producer of the show, and he sits over there, and he doesn't have a headset or a microphone. I think we do that on purpose, but he always gives me little hints. And no, I know I'm gonna keep fucking saying it.
I want to know, are suppressors legal?
Okay, so I will give you my opinion because we have a professional a lawyer that knows the law. So a suppressor is legal if you properly filled out the federal paperwork that allows you to get the stamp to have this in your possessions. And then you need to keep that paperwork available in case, let's say, an ATF officer or a law enforcement officer were to say, hey, can you show that you're allowed to have this? And then you say, yes, sir, because why are you fighting the police? They're here to help you. And then you just show your stamp, which is a paper that has a little stamp on it. And if I remember correctly, it's a couple $100. It's just,
it's $200.
Yeah, it's $200, and it's a process. It takes a little bit of time. Depends on how backed up they are.
Yeah.
And how did I do?
No, you nailed it.
No,
that's, you 100%. I mean, you A plus. I mean, it's fucking
my first
stupid.
A plus ever.
I mean, it's fucking stupid.
Yeah.
Because a suppressor is just an accessory that makes a firearm less loud.
Yeah.
And by the way,
and your ears would be a lot better if there were suppressors that were a long time ago that you were.
I was born deaf in my left ear.
Okay.
And so I've had a hearing issue my whole life. But I mean, it's so dumb that we regulate suppressors the same way we regulate machine guns in this country.
Yeah.
Because all a suppressor is it makes a gun less loud. But all it does, it takes a gun from about 160 decibels to about 130 decibels.
Right.
130 decibels is still loud.
Yeah, because 86 decibels is a lawnmower, which you're supposed to have hearing protection for.
So
anything over 86 decibels.
Well, yeah, as a guy who runs factories, you know these things. But 130.
I know these things.
What'd you say?
As a touring rock drummer, I know these things.
Oh yeah, he's deaf as shit.
But I mean, there's this myth out there that it's propagated by Hollywood.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Is that, a gun with
and California is the biggest anti-fucking gun state there
absolutely.
is. And I got a lot of friends in California. I love San Diego. I dislike California, so I won't get into.
San Diego is beautiful. I mean,
I
you can't not like San Diego.
I fucking love San Diego. It's just too bad it's in California.
Yeah, exactly. But there's this myth out there propagated by Hollywood that firing a gun with a suppressor on it sounds like.
Fuck, it does.
No.
It
goes from 160 decibels down to, depending on caliber and barrel length and a bunch of other stuff, down to about 130 decibels, which is still fucking loud.
I will say my Wilson Combat one that you helped me get, it's nice.
I'm so proud of that gun, man.
It's so nice.
I'm so proud of that gun.
It's not pew, but I'll tell you what, it's pretty good.
All right. I got to tell this story, though.
Okay.
I love this story because you're my buddy, right?
Right, yeah.
I mean, we've had a lot of cocktails together.
Yeah,
you're my friend.
Yeah.
And one day you called me and you go, man, I want an SBR, which people don't know. It's a short-barreled rifle. And a short-barreled rifle has a lot of benefits. Especially if, I just spent 5 days out in Gunsight where we're clearing rooms.
Yeah.
You're coming around a corner, you're going up a stairwell, you're coming around corners, you're going through a doorway. A shorter barrel's better than a longer barrel.
Correct.
It just is.
Yeah.
And
logistically, it is.
It just totally is. Then separately, what's really cool is if it's a shorter barrel, if you put a suppressor on it, now suddenly you don't have a ridiculously long rifle by putting a suppressor on the end of a regularly barreled gun. So a short barreled gun with a suppressor on it is badass. That's what a lot of us want. I have one. You have one.
Yeah.
And especially a really nice SBR and a really nice suppressor all makes a lot of sense. So one day you called me. You go, man, I'm going to come by your office. I'm like, all right, brother. I mean, you're my buddy. Come on by. And I go, what do you want to talk about? He goes, I don't know. I'll talk about it when you get down there. So you come down and we're talking and you go, I want a really cool SBR with a really cool suppressor.
A nice one.
I want a really nice
one.
suppressor with a really nice SBR. And I'm like, you want a recommendation from me? And you go, yeah. And I'm like, oh, I got you.
Yeah. And then do you remember, you go, yeah, I can tell you, you're like, you should get this one. And you said, this company called Wilson Combat, they're good. I go, oh yeah. How about we just go online and do it together?
We did.
Yeah, we did.
And we ordered everything right there.
You pulled up the computer and we were out there ordering it.
And you got the most badass rig.
And it's
you got the
sick.
most badass, the SBR,
yeah.
The optics.
Oh yeah.
The optics you put on it that same day and the suppressor.
Yeah. Yeah.
You got the best rig on the planet, man. I was envious. I'm going. I want one. I want every one of these.
I remember
too.
you even said you're like, okay, so because when you start like putting it in the cart, for lack of a better word, you're like, okay, and I was
Can we
like,
just make 2 of these?
yeah, I was like, I don't care the cost, bro. We're good, man. We're good. Well, hey, man. Thanks for coming on the show.
Oh, of course.
You're a fucking rock star. I love you. I got a little gift for you, but before I say that, I want to thank you on behalf of all the people that are out there getting shit done. You do it in a different manner than a lot of us do. You're out there in the public protecting and serving individuals that might not have the opportunity to have your expertise, and you do it out of your goodness and of your heart and your passion for what you do. And I urge anyone that's listening to this show, go out and look at the 2A project. Check out the GoFundMe for Eli. Support. I want them to support what you're doing. Go to your radio station, listen to your show on WIBC. You do so much good in our community, which has transcended. I don't even know the right word. I've had a couple drinks now.
Transcended.
Yeah, transcended into.
I was waiting for Justin to say.
Yeah, Justin's over there fucking shaking his head. No, but Jonica's gonna hear this. She's like, "You fucking idiot." No, but seriously, you've done so much that has helped Indiana, helped our city, and has transcended into the rest of the country. And I'm thankful to call you a friend, and I'm just excited that you came on the show and spent the time with us. So here's what I have for you. I know you have your own show, and I don't know how much coffee you drink, but I have a little.
Oh, I'm a big coffee drinker.
I have a little everyday GSD coffee mug because
awesome.
Every morning or every evening, whenever you drink your coffee, or you can put bourbon in it too, because it does bourbon, because you get shit done. But most importantly, I have a everyday GSD shirt, which I rock them out, and everyone who gets shit done, I want you guys to understand, like, this is the shit right here. Get shit done every single day, and that's what you do. So thank you, brother. It's a longer table now, but I'm gonna lean in, shake your hand, and thanks for coming, man. I appreciate you.
Are you kidding? It's an honor to be here, man. You've been my buddy for a long time.
Thank you.
And you're somebody I always enjoy seeing, and somebody I respect immeasurably. And I'm proud of what you're doing, man, with Everyday GSD and with Get Back to Bulletproof. I'm proud as hell of you for that too, man. So we're friends, and it's fun to be able to sit here and do this with you too.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you.
All right, brother.
All right, bro.